Well, hello, and thank you for joining us. Welcome to the Virtual College Exploration for All Ohio Students, sponsored by the Ohio Association for College Admissions Counseling and StriveScan. Just a few housekeeping announcements before we get started. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type a question to our presenters at any time. Your camera and microphone are turned off so the panelists cannot see or hear you during the presentation. This is just one of many different sessions that are happening, so be sure to check out the full schedule at oacac.org. And this presentation will be recorded and will be available within a week so that you can review those on the same website, which is oacac.org. I'd like to now turn it over to our presenters.
All right, thank you, Dan. Appreciate it. My name is Rob Weiler. I am the Director of Admissions here at Hocking College, and I'm really glad that we have the opportunity to connect with you all here today virtually. Hopefully, I'm going to cover a lot of information today that I hope is really helpful and important, but also along the way, I know just as if we were in a face-to-face setting, it's really important for me to answer the questions you have, meet the needs you have. Also, with you having the goal of attending today, I want to make sure that everything you needed to find out about, we can get you taken care of, or schedule something following this event to make sure that we get all of your questions answered. So a couple different things. There may be a few times, as Dan mentioned, about the Q&A that I'd like to engage you all and have you throw some responses in the Q&A. Also, too, if there's anything at any point you're going through and in the Q&A, you're like, oh man, I've got a question about this, go ahead and throw it in there. I can go ahead and try and respond to those as I'm presenting, but feel free to say, hey, Rob, I got a question about that, and I'll be more than happy to answer those. Also, at the end, we'll try to wrap up with a little bit of time to ask any specific questions that any of you may have. Also, I encourage students all the time, feel free to ask questions. Don't be afraid. The thing that you're wanting to know about is oftentimes the person who's in the room with us, they have a similar question or the same question. So make sure that you guys engage with me in that way. And also too, just one thing I want to do just kind of out of fun, in the Q&A real quick, if you're on here, can you just throw in there where you guys are tuning in from today, so I just have an idea of kind of where we're connecting from. So if you guys can do that, I would appreciate it, and we'll go ahead and get this screen shared and start moving from there. All right, it looks like all Ohio folks with us so far. So anybody else who's just joining us, or if they get here late, make sure you throw in there where you guys are from. I want to recognize Dayton and Mogadore, Ohio. Very cool, very cool. So Hocking College, talk to you guys a little bit about Hocking and some of the things that we have to offer here. First thing I want to talk about is the institution itself. So we are located in Nelsonville, Ohio. We're roughly about an hour and 10 minutes southeast of Columbus. Beautiful part of the state, the Hocking Hills region, if you've ever vacationed there or visited any of the state parks. So it's a beautiful area. Hocking College itself was founded in 1968. We've got 50 plus unique programs, and we'll talk a little bit about those programs. And I think that's one of the highlights that I really enjoy talking to students about, is the broad scope of programming that we do offer here to our students, and also thinking about those programs and what it looks like in that class environment. So also talking about the land area, more than 2,300 acres is our campus, and other remote research or different class sites. And then the big thing is small classes with the hands-on learning environment. So as we'll talk later about those different programs that we may have, we think about some of the programs of interest, and also in the Q&A too, feel free to drop in there. If you knew there was a specific program you had an interest in, drop it in there. I'd like to know about that, and I want to talk more about it at the end. But also thinking about, we have everything from dental hygiene and nursing to wildlife management, fisheries and aquaculture, culinary arts, construction management, all those different programs. And when you think about what our students do and what their classrooms look like, we're really preparing students for those real world experiences. So if we have a student who's in the dental hygiene, they're going to spend the majority of their time at the dental hygiene labs at our new Lex campus. If it's a student who's in wildlife management or fish management aquaculture, they'll spend a lot of time at our Lake Snowden facility or working in our fish hatchery. Fire emergency services students, we have a 3-story burn tower. So when you think about the classes here at Hocking, I think that's one of the things that makes us truly unique is what that classroom experience is like. And for me, I think that was one of the things myself. I'm an alum of Hocking College. I majored in wildlife resource management. And during my time here as a student, I think that's what I loved the most was knowing that getting up each day and going to class, it was a real pleasure. It was a joy. I was motivated knowing that, okay, today I'm going to be putting on my boots and we're hiking in the woods for 3 or 4 hours and identifying trees and dendrology, or, thinking about putting on my waders and going down to the river and IDing fish. So that idea of those unique programs and that small class with hands-on experience, it's one of the gems I think that Hocking College is to the region and also to the state. Also talking about enrollment, Hocking College is an open enrollment institution. So with that, only admissions requirements are that students have a high school diploma or GED equivalent. And with that, also talking about the next step beyond that. So one of the things that's changing in our admissions criteria following this year is that students will be required to have a free application for federal student aid or a FAFSA completed and on file prior to them being accepted to the institution. So for any of you considering starting in the summer or the autumn of 2021, we want to make sure not only can you do the admissions application, which is free and online, you'll get your initial letter in the mail, but then taking it to the next step to make sure that we provide the support behind you to get resources in place. One thing that we recognize kind of in this shift in this movement is we know that as students start this journey with us at Hocking College, they're making a decision to pursue an academic outcome that's ultimately going to result in a career, right? So we know that the goal is this educational pursuit is going to provide me a career, and with that career, I'm really looking for financial independence, right? So knowing that if our goal through all of this academic journey with our students here at Hocking and those outcomes are career and job placement and financial independence, we want to make sure that our students start off on the right foot their first semester, meaning that, making sure, do we have resources in place? Do we have finances? So maybe students who opt not to do the FAFSA, them, their families, they may have third-party payments, they may be self-pay. So just getting that information in and documenting it. And then once we have that in place, we know the students are set for success so that after their first semester, there's no challenges or barriers that would prevent them from continuing on to ultimately completion in whatever certificate or degree program they're working towards. So with that, it's going to be a new venture for us, but we know also that our team in the admissions department is here to help support with that. So even for you as a student, or if you're a parent, a school counselor joining us today, also if students need help or support in completing that FAFSA, that's another resource that we're going to provide within the admissions department. And feel free to reach out to us and we'll be happy to help. Next thing I want to talk about is really about exploring those different programs and what that looks like, okay? So if you're looking at exploring the different programs that we have to offer, some of you may have been on our majors page previously prior to today. And on that majors page, you can actually click and search by program and identify not only what are some of the outcomes, but also viewing the course curriculum, and most importantly, the cost of attendance, which we'll discuss here in just a little bit. So I wanted to make sure that you could access that and that you were able to get that information following today's event. So beyond majors, and we'll come back to them in a little bit and we'll talk a bit about costs, but thinking about student support services. So knowing that our goal is for any student, if they make the decision to say, you know what, Hocking College is the right fit for me, we want to make sure that we wrap services around those students. So from the start of making sure, okay, are we off on the right foot once we've been accepted, securing finances in place, and then the first day that you start, making sure that we have supportive services around you so that you can be successful not only academically, but also personally, physically, and I'll talk a little bit about that as well. So thinking about our Academic Success Center, we do offer services through the Academic Success Center. For any students who may have an IEP or a 504, accommodations can be made under any of the ADA guidelines. So for students who may have had that IEP or 504 plan in high school, we encourage you to get that in as soon as you make the decision to attend Hocking. So that way we can get our folks in the Success Center wrapped around you and provide that support. Also, I want to talk about tutoring, right? Free tutoring. So we offer free tutoring for every class on our campus. This is one of those things that, you know, for me, I remember paying for tutors during my academic journey and what that was like, and knowing how critical they were to my academic success. So one of the things I talk to students about is how here at Hocking College, we operate on a 16-week semester, but it's an 8-week model, meaning that we have first 8-week classes and second 8-week classes. And really, within those 8-week classes, by the time you hit first week, no later than second week of classes, if a student identifies, you know what, I'm not getting this, there's content that's going over my head, things aren't clicking, I encourage students, go to the Success Center, sign up for a tutoring, and we're there with that support to make sure that you succeed academically. Another item I want to talk about within the Academic Success Center is our TRIO program. And when I talk about that, thinking about our TRIO program, it is a program designed to support first-generation students or students who may come from a lower socioeconomic status or lower income family. And with that program, it's really unique, and I wish it would have been available to me as a student. But really, it's about helping students who know their first generation being defined by neither mom or dad has a 4-year bachelor's degree. And with that TRIO program, they not only offer tutoring services, mentoring services, and I think for me, the mentoring services are really important. So thinking about the idea of as you make this transition from where you are as a high school student to where you are as a college student, or even as a non-traditional student making that transition in, really there's some things that change about the way that we structure our lives. So for high school students, I talk a lot about this, you know, high school is very structured, you know, now this year I know for many of you, that may be a bit unique, but knowing that generally, you know what time school begins, what time classes end at the end of the day, periods 1, 2, 3, 4, lunch, etc. Monday through Friday, you know what that looks like. But as you make that shift into college, and especially with the 8-week model, for many of our students, they will have classes on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, without classes on Wednesday, right? Or maybe their schedule falls where they may only have class 3 days a week, right? So when we talk about that, the mentoring services, and this is kind of great advice for students all around, thinking about how do you structure and manage your time, right? So they work with students around things like time management skills, etc. Also professional development and looking at where they go beyond the classroom into their career. So TRIO is a great program as far as resources to students here on our campus. Also, the other thing, and we'll talk more about all-inclusive pricing later and what services are offered to students here at Hocking College as a result of that. And with that, on campus, we do offer mental health counseling services through Hopewell, and those are no charge to the students. Once they have paid their all-inclusive price for the semester, those services are free and available to students here on our campus. And also we have our Hawk Center for Wellbeing. So the counseling service offices are located there, but essentially for students who need medical care on campus, we have that available for them as well. All-inclusive pricing, and this is one of the things I really wanted to take some time on here, and bear with me one moment. There we go. I wanted to minimize this down here. So thinking about all-inclusive pricing, and we'll show a version of the curriculum later. So when you hear that all-inclusive pricing, what that means for us here at Hocking College is simply this. Knowing that when students look at what is their education cost, that all-inclusive price that's going to be listed on the curriculums not only includes all of the students' tuition, but it includes also all of their course fees. There's also built in a $300 learning fee, the health center and career services fee. And I'll show you an example of what that looks like. But for a student attending full-time, semester by semester, they're able to identify what is my educational cost. And what's great about that is students knowing on the first day of class, they're going to have all their tools of the trade, looking at knife kits for culinary, tool sets for auto tech, knowing that they're not going to have to purchase any textbooks. I know for me that was a big challenge and a barrier as I was a student in the first semester of classes was essentially, you know, how do I come up with this money to buy textbooks? And for me, I was that guy in the library many times, you know, making the photocopies to get me through those first few weeks of classes. So we knew that that was a barrier and a challenge for many of our students. So with the all-inclusive pricing, it encompasses that and wraps it in. Also, additional add-ons that you may want to think about is if you want to have a vehicle on campus, and students absolutely can have a vehicle on campus their first semester. Parking permit is $53 per semester. And then also Smart Start, which, you know, this year things are different where we haven't run our Smart Start. Essentially, we anticipate in the autumn of 21 that we'll be back on that. And really, it's a program that we recommend for all first-year college students. And what that is students living on campus are able to move in the dorms a week early, or anybody living off campus essentially can come in daily to participate in the activities. And really the goal and the vision of Smart Start is to help students get acclimated to the campus community, doing different fun activities like canoeing, rock climbing. They went to Kings Island last year, you know, lots of different things so you can also start connecting with other students on campus, okay? So that's a little bit about the all-inclusive pricing model. Now, how does that look when we actually break down a program? So I talked about earlier visiting our majors page. So knowing that if you have a specific major that you're interested in, you can click on that major, go to the course curriculum, and it'll bring up something similar to what we see right here. And you'll actually see a semester by semester breakdown for each set of courses within that curriculum. So with that, all-inclusive pricing is going to be determined by the program as the course fees may vary. However, in the example here, which is for our website application and development, you can see on that spring 2 semester, students, their in-state tuition and fees for that semester, for all of those 16 credit hours, they will only pay $3,020. So if you're a student and you're looking at, okay, I'm going to be attending, I need to look at my per semester costs, and that's what we encourage. We encourage students to do everything on a per semester basis when calculating estimated cost of attendance. So knowing that this semester, your course fees, tuition, textbooks, everything is going to be $3,020. So if you're a student who's living off campus, when you're calculating that total cost, really it would be evaluating purchasing a parking permit, and then, you know, you would have your full cost for that term. Now, whereas if you were a student who's living on campus, we'll talk a little bit more about what those housing costs look like, and then a little bit of a breakdown of how do you combine all of those per semester costs to get an estimated total cost of attendance. All right, next thing I want to talk about is with on-campus housing. With the on-campus housing, there is an online application. There's a non-refundable $60 application fee and a $250 security deposit. One of the things I like to talk to students about is that application fee and that security deposit are due prior to room assignments being made. All of our dormitories are going to be on a first come, first served basis. And one of the big questions we get is, you know, hey, I did my FAFSA. Can I use any of my financial aid to cover those application and security deposits? Regretfully, you are not. Students need to pay that $250 and that $60 up front. However, all of your dormitory charges or your meal plans can have financial aid applied to them. So any other part of your balance, you're able to have financial aid applied to, just not that application fee and the security deposit. Now, talking about on-campus housing options and rates, so we have a couple different options, right? So we have North and Down Hour Hall, which are our newest facilities. They're located directly on campus, right behind John Light Hall. And then also looking at on campus is Hocking Heights. And then off campus, we have Sycamore Hall and Summit on the River. So thinking about cost of attendance, I always tell students if they know they're considering living on campus and they're trying to figure out what's my total cost, you want to make sure that you look at what's your dorm option. But as a default, I tell students, if you always calculate that highest cost for dormitories and your all-inclusive price, that's going to give you the best vision or best view of what your cost of attendance would look like. Also, one of the things that's different, and this is illustrated on our website, and we're actually going to have updates coming here soon, is that, you know, with COVID-19 and the effects on a residential campus, some of the rooming assignments and breakdowns have changed, but for the most up-to-date information on that, I encourage you always to go back to our housing page, and you'll be able to find that information there. So beyond all-inclusive pricing for my tuition, course fees, books, tools of the trade, then my housing, the next piece is the meal plan. So knowing that we've got two different options for meal plans here for on-campus students. The option 2 is $14.40 per semester, and it's 14 meals a week. And the way those meal plans work is they're really a swipe plan. So what that means is every time you go in, each meal that you get is a swipe. You're able to do 14 meals a week. And then you have what's called a Hawk Bucks, $100 in Hawk Bucks. Now those Hawk Bucks are able to be used to purchase a la carte items. You know, if you don't want to, you know, waste a whole meal plan swipe and you say, hey, I really just want to get a sandwich or a pop, you're able to do so with those Hawk Bucks. Or also, we do have a fine dining restaurant on the square of Nelsonville, which is run by our culinary, our baking, and hotel and restaurant management students. Those Hawk Bucks can be used there as well. Excuse me. So with that, knowing a little bit about the base plan, students can also have the option to go up, and they can jump up to the 19 meals a week for $15.20 a semester, and they gain an additional $50 in Hawk Bucks. For me, you know, one of the things I remember as a student here, and I always tell students this, you know, the best kept secret about Hocking College is that we have a culinary arts program. So what that means is if you make a friend in culinary arts, you'll eat well, right? So I know for me, as a student here, my first semester, I was a wildlife management student, and I remember in the dorms, there was this young lady, quite cute, and she would always, you know, come back from her classes and say, you know, offering me something to eat. You know, one day it was venison steaks. The next day she was like, hey, would you like some swordfish and leeks? I said, sure, I'd love some, you know. I didn't know what leeks were. I thought they were a pipe that dripped. I didn't know they were a big green onion. But long story short, that whole semester I ate well. And that young lady and I have been married for 16 years now. So the moral of the story, I always tell students is make a friend in culinary arts and you'll eat well. So not only do we have the meal plan, but it's something else for you to think about. Now, thinking about how to calculate the estimated total cost of attendance. So for the example that I'm going to reference here, we're going to talk about business management and entrepreneurship and really look at what that all-inclusive price is. So for the first semester cost, and as I mentioned, going to the majors page, then to the curriculums, which I'll show you guys here towards the end of the presentation. I'll actually drive you guys through our website. Once you do that, you can get on there and see per semester cost. So this is an example for an in-state student, business management, the all-inclusive price for the first semester, $27.90. Living on campus, $28.40 was the max on the housing for North and Down Hour. The meal plan, base plan of $14.40. And then the parking permit, which I mentioned is optional, did not get calculated into that, but just keeping that in mind. But for this student, for their first semester, their estimated cost of attendance would be $40. So this is really a great way when you try to visualize, how do I estimate that total cost of attendance? You're able to do that simply by looking at what is my all-inclusive price. Then if you're electing for on-campus housing and the meal plan, and you can calculate that pretty easily on your own. Also, with this, one of the things I'll tell you too, thinking about calculating this price, you can actually do this for the full 2 years. Now, we have some certificate programs that some of you may be interested in that might range from 1 to 3 semesters. But for all of our 2-year associate degrees as well, it actually maps out that per semester cost for the entire 2 years. And then we'll actually have a 2-year cost as well. So total cost of attendance for all-inclusive with the 2-year price. So shifting gears a little bit from some of the nuts and bolts of cost of attendance and things of that nature, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about student life, right? So, alluding to the fact that we have dorms, that's one of the things that I think makes Hocking College very unique. When most folks think about a two-year college, they think about that local two-year community college. It's a commuter school. You live at home with your parents or maybe live in your own place off campus and you commute to class each day. Where for us, having on-campus housing really shifts that dynamic where we have kind of this rich campus and student life, even though we're a two-year college. And for many students, it's likened to what they would have with that four-year experience based on some of those attributes. So thinking about involvement, engagement, what is there to do while I'm on campus? So there's 20 plus student clubs and organizations that we have on campus, everything from gaming clubs, equine clubs, Epicurean club for culinary and baking students. So there's lots of different things for you to participate in. And I tell students all the time too, you may be in a major and maybe you're a heavy equipment student, but you have an affinity for decorating cupcakes. You can join the Epicurean club. Or you're a culinary student, you say, I love horses. You can join the horse club, right? So there's always something for you to be a part of here while you're a student on campus. Also things to do here. So at our student center, we have a indoor rock climbing wall, also indoor pool, fitness center, track. Also on campus, we have a disc golf course. New for us this year is actually a on-campus driving range. And man, it's been getting a lot of use. I've seen students down there, talked to a couple of them the other day. So it's just another fun thing for students to do while they're here on campus. Also, we have basketball courts, tennis courts, and then thinking about activities, Hocking College Homecoming we have every year in the fall, but then also there's lots of different guest speakers and other campus events. So I'll talk later about the Hocking College mobile app and encourage all of you to download that. But thinking about events, you can also look at our event calendar to see everything that we have going on, whether it be leisure learning, different activities. There's always something for you to be a part of. Also, talking about leisure learning, these are kind of courses that are related to majors that we offer at a fee to the community, but for our students, they're free to take. So there might be a leisure learning where they're doing glass blowing in the glass studio. It may be a welding project at the welding lab. All of these different things that you may have an interest in through leisure learning, you can take some of those classes. Usually there's somewhere around a half-day course, usually on the weekends. They're just a lot of fun to go and participate. I know they did a ceramics, a raku firing recently. But those are just different things that students can be a part of to engage with while they're here on campus. The other thing, talking about even the region and the area, I know I mentioned earlier about being here in the Hocking Hills. So we're about 20, 25 minutes from the state parks, but also lots of areas down here through Wayne National Forest. So if you're a student who enjoys those outdoor pursuits, whether it be hiking, camping, backpacking, fishing, hunting, any of those types of things, there's lots of those opportunities for you to take advantage of here, here within about a 20, 30-minute radius of the college campus. Also talking about athletics. So we mentioned dorms, campus life, also knowing that we have not only football, but men's and women's basketball, women's volleyball, co-ed cheerleading, archery, equestrian, which we were really excited about joining the list here over the past year or two, and then also esports. So thinking about any of you that are part of those athletic programs at your high school, Hocking does give you that opportunity to participate in those competitive athletics here at the college level with us as well. Also, not to mention, we do have a lot of a variety of intramural sports that students are able to be a part of. I know normally each spring they'll do some co-ed softball. They've had soccer in the past. So there's always lots of different things for you to be a part of in regards to athletics as well. Last couple of things I want to talk about, and this is more of kind of a resource for you too, and thinking about how to pay for college. And I know for many of you, if you're seniors this year, thinking about October 1st and the FAFSA opening up for you, there's going to be a lot of things for you to consider. And those of you that are seniors, thinking about how do I access resources to help me pay for college? So of course, the first thing is the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid. I encourage every student that's planning on going to college, whether you think you may qualify for aid or not, I encourage you to do it, especially if you're coming here to Hocking College. So, not only could you qualify for grants, potential student loans through the FAFSA, but also thinking about scholarships. For students to be considered for any in-house Hocking College scholarships, they have to have a completed FAFSA application on file. So even if you may be a student who's saying, hey, I'm using third party or self-pay, I encourage you to do it simply because you may be eligible to access other internal scholarships. The other thing is thinking about scholarships externally and the work that you're going to do if you're a senior, junior, whatever, to start researching. And there was a young man who just graduated this past year. His name's Wyatt. And I remember working with Wyatt around the time I first started here at the college. I met him as a junior. And I remember I was so impressed with Wyatt when he came in. He was a natural resource law enforcement student. And he had actually built a spreadsheet of all the potential scholarships that he might qualify for and looking at what is required for each. You know, and he had a few different template versions of different letters that he would submit, things about his community involvement, etc., academic performance, transcripts, so that when it was time for those scholarships to open, I mean, he was sending them all out. And I remember talking to him his first year and then even this year after graduating. And one of the amazing things was, you know, for him, he walked away without having to take out any student loans, right? With no student loan debt. But he was also one of those students who got some internal scholarships, some benefit through the FAFSA, through grants. But then also the work that he did and all the legwork to search for those external scholarships really paid off. And I think one of the coolest ones, me being a natural resource alum as well, was he had received a scholarship through the National Wild Turkey Federation, where he actually was awarded not only a monetary scholarship award, but a brand new shotgun and a 3-day guided turkey hunt. So, you know, when you think about you're looking at these scholarships, looking at not only what community organizations, maybe it's local churches, AMVETs, you know, all the different organizations locally, but then also what are the regional groups, and doing some of that research on the front end can really help you as you start that academic journey. Also looking at any of you that may be using military benefits, and then also considering additional funding options. So things along the lines of Parent Plus loans, private loans, also student employment here on campus. For us, we had close to, I think it was about 375 students this past year as student employees here on campus. And what's great about student employees here at Hocking is, you know, if you have a job off campus, maybe food service, some entry-level position, it can be challenging to work around your class schedule and still cover the shifts that are needed by your employer. Whereas here, what we do through our career and university centers, we tell students, hey, bring us your class schedule and let us help you find a fit on campus where you can work and actually get the hours you need while not having to compromise or have conflicts with your class schedule. With that, students are able to work up to 16 hours a week, and they're everywhere, you know, everywhere from facilities, maintenance, dining services. Here in our admissions department, we have quite a few student employees as well. So it's a great opportunity. But the other part along with student employment is we also have what's called a work scholarship. And with that work scholarship, students are actually able, if they have an identified funding gap at the start of the semester, they're able to get a $1,000 work scholarship applied directly to their account. They'll work and fulfill the commitment to reach that maximum amount of $1,000 throughout working during the semester. And once they hit that threshold each week, they're also getting a paycheck to put money in their pocket. So it's really a great opportunity for students with that work college model to think about, if I need a little bit of help up front, I'm able to get that and participate in that work scholarship program. Also, as I mentioned, third-party payments, an example of that might be WIOA, Workforce Investment Opportunity Act. So if any of you may have access through your local county job and family services, I'd encourage you to reach out to see if you might qualify for any of the programs or services they have to offer when looking at resources to help you pay for college. So last few things here before we wrap up. I want to talk to you about downloading a couple apps. So for those of you that are interested in Hocking College, as I mentioned, you can go to the Google Play Store for Android, Apple App Store for Apple iPhones, and download the Hocking College app. I'd encourage all of you to do it. Also, those of you thinking about starting your FAFSA coming up this autumn, I encourage you to take advantage of the FAFSA mobile app, right? So I talked to a lot of students last year who had some great success with this. I know our team here at admissions kind of got on there and actually submitted a FAFSA just to see what it was like. And I know for me, it was really a seamless process, being able to put all the information in there. So I'd encourage you to take advantage of those resources. and download both of those apps. So with that being said, I want to show you just a few quick things here in regards to the Hocking College website as well. So as I mentioned earlier, hocking.edu, there's lots of great resources there for future students talking about the admissions process, housing, financial aid, all of those different things. For students who know that, hey, Hocking's the right fit for me, you can go ahead, click the link to apply. That admissions application is free. There's no charge. It'll take you about 15 minutes to do. And I'd encourage you, if you're considering Hocking and you know it's the right fit, feel free to take that step and apply. Now, the one thing I want to talk about is majors in the majors page I mentioned earlier. So when you click on the toolbar on majors, it'll actually bring up each program by department. And what's really cool about this is as you go through, I think earlier we were talking about business management, you can actually click on that program. It has a brief overview. Some of them have some video testimonials of past students, information about all-inclusive pricing, career outcomes, learning outcomes. But really the course curriculum is what I would encourage you to spend some time looking into. And I'll kind of zoom in there so you guys can see this a little bit better. And what's nice about this, oh, there we go. What's nice about this, as I mentioned, when you look at this curriculum, it'll give you the full breakdown. So for this 2-year associate degree program, it shows you all of the courses in your first autumn semester, all of your course options in the second spring semester, your third, which is your autumn 2, and then also your spring 2, which is your fourth and final. And what's really unique is here, it breaks down what is my all-inclusive price per semester. So $2,970 here, based on if you take the insurance or real estate track, there's a slight variance. But looking at the 2-year price, for this full 2-year associate's degree with tuition, course fees, books, all of your materials, for an in-state student, it's going to be right around $12,000. So it's really a great tool to look at. What am I wanting to pursue? Are the courses that are listed in the curriculum, are they of interest? And also identifying, you know, that cost of attendance and having that as a tool for you as well. So I would encourage you all, let me zoom back out here. Encourage you all to take a look at the majors page. And then also feel free just to jump on the website, check out a couple different things. The one piece that I did want to mention as well is talking about campus visits. So currently Hocking College is not permitting physical visitations on campus. You can get on here and actually do our virtual tour, which is kind of nice. But here in about 2 weeks, let me see here, I'll pull this up for you. We'll go ahead and on our visit page, I'll show you this. You can jump on the visit page, take a look around on the virtual campus tour. There we go. Take a look on the virtual campus tour, but also visiting this page, we'll have the most up-to-date information as soon as we kick off our virtual visits where students and families can sign up to attend on those and also get some additional information. The other thing is too, thinking about contacting anybody here at the college, making sure that you know our staff directory is here. There's my contact information, as I mentioned earlier, Rob Weiler. Feel free to look on there, get my information. If you guys have any questions following today's event, you can do that. But what's nice is, you know, if you're needing to reach somebody in financial aid, you can't remember who you spoke to, that staff directory is going to be a great resource that's going to provide you with the staff within that department. So I just wanted to show you that piece as well as another tool or resource that you can find here on our web page listed here under the directory. So at this time, I want to give a little bit of an opportunity for any questions. And if there's anything that any of you guys have questions on, feel free to drop it in the Q&A right now. And I'm more than happy to answer any of those. We'll give just about another minute or so if anybody else is on there typing so that you guys can make sure that we answer those. See a couple questions coming in here talking about special accommodations. So thinking about any type of accommodations for any type of disabilities. That would all be handled through our Access Center. And Erin Bowald is going to be our point person for that. And actually, I'll pull her information up here so that if any student has any questions regarding anything with academic support or disability services, Erin's going to be the main point of contact. And I saw another great question come in asking about, will attending a career center help you with being accepted? Really, it won't have any bearing on getting accepted. As I mentioned earlier, the admissions criteria, as long as you have that high school diploma, GED equivalent, and then also either you submit that FAFSA or secure payment method, you'll be accepted here at the college. But what I will tell you is this: depending on your field of study, it can tremendously benefit you to attend a career center. And the reason being is that we have what's called articulation agreements with many of those career centers throughout the state of Ohio. One that comes to mind is culinary, where I know a lot of those students, they may have their ServSafe training or other courses that they're taking there at the career center, that through our partnership with those schools, we actually offer articulated college credit, meaning that that course being part of our curriculum, if we identify that it meets those core requirements, we will actually give that high school student coming out of that career center credit for that course. So thinking of it in that sense, some of you may be familiar with College Credit Plus and knowing that any credits you earn through CCP will transfer to any 4-year or 2-year public within the state of Ohio. Those articulation agreements and those credits earned are a strict partnership just between that career center and Hocking College. So that's the one difference to take into account. Also thinking about how well do credits transfer into a 4-year university. That's a great question. That was my path, right? I did 2 years here at Hocking College, and then I had a clean transition into the University of Idaho, into their wildlife program. So it was really a 2+2, which was a great benefit for me. Again, with that, it's going to depend on program and looking at what that is. Also, with some of our programs, we've got partnerships with Franklin University where we can actually do 3+1s. Students are able to do 3 years with us at our tuition rate, 1 year with Franklin at their tuition rate, which is a great break. But if you have any of those specific questions, I encourage you guys to reach out to me following today's session and just reference, hey, I was in on the info session today with you guys. And for that question, both the 4-year transfer and also the career centers, I'd love to connect with you guys and get you some more information there. So any other questions? Any other questions? All right. And if I don't have anything else coming in right now, I want to thank you guys for taking time to meet with me today. And most definitely when you're on campus, if you ever see me, say, hey, Rob, we were on the virtual session with you. I love connecting with students, love talking to them. I'm always here to help. So feel free to reach out to me and let me know. And then, I saw a couple things here. Yeah. So the one individual answering about the transfer for nursing, yeah, we also do have that pathway as well. Reach out to me offline following this and I'll get you some more information. So I want to thank you guys again for tuning in and hope to see you guys here on campus soon. And Dan, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Rob, for all of that wonderful information about Hocking College. And thank you all who attended this session. We definitely appreciate you attending this evening. Just a couple quick notes as we wrap up here. When you close the window, there will be a very quick link to a survey that will pop up, to a 4-question survey. We appreciate any feedback that you can provide. Also, this was just one of many sessions that will be hosted. So be sure to sign up and check out the additional sessions on oacac.org. And in about a week, you'll be able to find this session as well as the other sessions recorded at the same website, which is, again, oacac.org. Again, thank you so much for joining us this evening and have a wonderful rest of your day.